The headline at Axios reads, "Proposal would add a Category 6 as hurricanes get stronger." Here's the lead, quote, "Hurricanes are getting so strong in a warming world that Category 6 intensity should be added to the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale," a new study finds. According to the article at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration that describes the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, the current system uses a rating system from 1 to 5, quote, "based only on a hurricane's maximum sustained wind speed," end quote. In bold type, the article explains that, quote, "this scale does not take into account other potentially deadly hazards such as storm surge, rainfall flooding, and tornadoes," end quote. Rather, the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale estimates potential property damage. This makes perfect sense if you live in the divided states of America. After all, nothing matters more in this country than money. It is no overstatement to claim that in this country, everything is always about the money. If you're poor, you don't matter. If you're financially wealthy, you are important by default. If you do not understand the relationship between money and social status, you're either not paying attention or you live outside this country. The paper in Axios refers to a peer-reviewed open-access paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The paper was written by 2 scholars and it was published on February 5th, 2024. Titled, "The Growing Inadequacy of an Open-Ended Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wind Scale in a Warming World," the paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, called PNUS by obnoxious workers in the field, begins with a section titled Significance. Quote, "Global warming leads to more intense tropic cyclones. 3 separate lines of evidence from both observations and models suggest that the open-endedness of the 5th category of the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale becomes increasingly problematic for conveying wind risk in a warming world. We investigate considering the extension to a 6th category of the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale to communicate that climate change has caused the winds of the most intense tropical cyclones to become significantly higher," end quote. After an abstract that includes information redundant with the other information I present here, the paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences opens with this information while referring to abundant peer-reviewed evidence. Quote, "The Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale is the most widely used metric to warn the public of the hazards of tropical cyclones. Introduced in the early 1970s by the United States National Hurricane Center using estimates of peak wind, storm surge, and minimum central pressure to describe both wind and water-driven destruction during tropical cyclones landfall along a coast, it was altered in 2010 to be solely determined by a 1-minute average maximum sustained winds at a height of 10 meters. In this sense, the scale is used only to communicate risk from winds. Other tropical cyclone hazards, such as precipitation, floods, and storm surge, are communicated by the National Hurricane Center via specialized metrics. It is well understood that these water-related hazards are responsible for the largest share of tropical cyclone-related mortality." End quote. Before proceeding further, I'll briefly explain a wee bit about why hurricanes, tornadoes, eddies in rivers, fire whirls, and other phenomena known for their rapid release of energy have their signature structure. These phenomena are releasing energy in the fastest possible manner. You can demonstrate this to yourself and others by pouring water out of a 2-liter bottle. The whirling water forms a spiraling, funnel-shaped vortex. It does so because this is the fastest way to release energy. It's the fastest way to get water out of a bottle. The same phenomenon applies to hurricanes, tornadoes, eddies in rivers, and fire whirls. The laws of thermodynamics ensure that energy is released in the fastest possible manner, as displayed by these phenomena. The article in Axios points out that last year, 2023, was Earth's warmest since instrument records began. It was almost certainly the warmest experience on this planet during the last 125,000 years. In addition, this year is expected to surpass this record or come very close. After all, January, the latest month available at the time the papers in Axios and the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences were written, was probably the 9th month in a row to set the record for the hottest month in planetary history. The article in Axios verifies something I've been pointing out for many years. A warmer Earth is a wetter Earth. Among the other results of a warming Earth are wetter tropical storms, faster and more frequent bouts of rapid intensification of tropical storms, and increasing temperatures on land, ocean, and in the air. The paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences proposes a Category 6 for hurricanes with maximum sustained winds in excess of 192 miles per hour. A few recent tropical storms have already met this criterion. These have included Super Typhoon Haiyan, which devastated the Philippines in 2013, Hurricane Patricia in 2015, and Super Typhoon Moranti in 2016. The peer-reviewed paper also indicates that anthropogenic climate change has more than doubled the risk of Category 6 strength storms since 1979. There are many disadvantages associated with the use of the Saffir-Simpson scale. For example, it focuses solely on wind. Most hurricanes-induced fatalities are caused by water, not wind. However, the paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences is focused on raising, quote, awareness about the perils of increased risk of major tropic cyclones due to global warming, end quote. The use of a sixth category for hurricanes seems justified based on this information alone. The third paragraph of the paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences includes, quote, 3 distinct motivations to consider that global warming increases the likelihood that other storms, besides Typhoon Haiyan, reach such intense wind speeds. The first is purely observation, that is, a number of recent storms have already reached our hypothetical Category 6 wind speeds. The second is a formal detection and attribution analysis, revealing that the risk of these storms that reach our hypothetical Category 6 has already been increased by human interference in the climate system. Climate model simulations of a warmer climate project further increases in this estimate of risk. The third is provided by analyzing projected changes in the most intense storms produced by multi-decadal simulations of high-resolution tropical cyclones, permitting global climate change models. End quote. The peer-reviewed paper uses a figure to clearly elaborate on the relationship between storm category and wind speed. This figure clearly indicates that Category 5 has been exceeded 5 times since 2012, with examples in 2013, 2015, 2016, 2020, and 2021. I strongly suspect future years will continue this horrifying trend for as long as we are present to document the trend.